Thank you. And thank you for all of our three panelists for joining our session today. So today the topic, it's a bit heavy for an after lunch session. So hopefully this will keep people excited to get to know all three of you as well as your insights. So the topic today, it would be, talking about digital inclusiveness, specifically towards Indonesian market, one of the most sexiest market in the world when it comes to digital economy. So let me before we start, I think I want to allocate a few minutes for each and every one of you to do a quick introduction, who you are and what your company does. And I think we can start from Budi and then Doddy and then Wayah. You can go after.
All right. Good afternoon, guys. Good to see you guys. My name is Budi. I'm the co-founder of Shipper. Shipper is one of the logistic aggregator company in Indonesia. We specialize in doing shipping and warehouse fulfillment.
Hi. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for having me as a panelist. My name is Doddy. I'm the co-founder of Halodoc. We are a tech health company with a vision of simplifying access to healthcare for people in Indonesia.
Okay. Hi. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Wayah Wiroto. I'm the managing director for Endeavor Indonesia. Endeavor is a non-profit organization that focuses on scaling up high-impact entrepreneurs across the globe. Thank you.
Awesome. So today we'll be talking about digital inclusivity. And my first question, I think we can start from Wayah. You've been around in the industry. You've been, with Endeavor. You've been talking to a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of investors, high impact entrepreneurs. I think that kind of sets Endeavor kind of different compared to other venture capitalists or any investors, right? So from each and every one here, maybe from your own views, why do you think we need to talk about digital inclusivity? Why is it important and why does it matter for the digital industry as a whole? Wayah, you can start.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Rama. Well, you know that Indonesia's internet economy is estimated at about 40 billion US dollar, and it's estimated to grow to about 130 billion in 2025. We have, I think, if I'm not mistaken, about 137 million internet consumer base as well. And there's a growing internet digital connected through mobile of around, I think, 197 million of our population. So if you look at these data, which I read also from your report, Rama, that was very nice. So I think the most important thing is we need to be very active within the value chain of this digital economy. So not just being in the consumer part only, or let's say the target market of this digital economy. We should be actively participating within the productions or the value chain of this industry sector.
All right, welcome back, guys, and thanks for attending the session today. So my first question is about digital inclusivity. So that's the whole topic for us today. But for me, the question should be, why does it really matter for the digital industry to have inclusivity? I think we can start from Wayah. You've been talking to a lot of social impact entrepreneurs and investors. From your own point of view, why do you think digital inclusivity matters?
Okay, let me start from our database and see. Indonesia has been evaluated of about 40 billion US dollar in their digital or internet economy, estimated to grow to 130 billion US dollar by 2025. We have also about, I think, 197 million internet users, and also about 160 million social media users. And also the consumer part, we have 137 million. So it's a huge market itself in Indonesia. But we should not be only as the target market of this digital industry. We should be actively participating in the value chain of the digital industry itself. In that case, we need to be ready for all of these movement, all of these changes. 130 billion US dollar is a huge economy and huge market. We should be participating there actively as a producers, not just only as consumers. And that means all of the players and the startup that has been actually on the tech base, we should be, let's say, encouraging them to become much more bigger, scaling up on their size, and also inviting all the seed startup to become much more actively within the economy. And then we should be focusing also on the differences, not just only focusing in Java and Sumatra, but also on the other islands and different parts of Indonesia, and also accessibility on this digital transformation process.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think Indonesia is very Java centric, and not just about digital economy. I think the whole economy is very Java centric. So I think that's one of the government's homework, main homework. So Pak Doddy, you've been around in the industry for quite a while, and you've seen the industry from the very beginning until the massive digital economy that it is today. Why do you think inclusivity matters, right? Because I think I remember back then, technology industry is for tech people. Now that's not the case. Why do you think inclusivity matters?
Okay, thank you, Rama. So, in essence, what the digital sector has to offer is to simplify and elevate our quality of life, solving problems facing the society by giving them access to knowledge, products, tools, and services that they did not have before. So, the key is to have the same level playing field. But how can we reach that objective without being inclusive, right? So, I believe that we all here agree that digitalization impact on any sector is unavoidable. It is the main aspect, if not the only one nowadays, to scale up any businesses. So in order for the sector to fully realize its potential in improving people's life, digital inclusivity is a must. Without inclusivity, it won't be fair for those who don't have access into it, since it will affect their potential. Especially during the pandemic, it has shown how important the digital sector is, especially when we got the lockdown to help people stay connected, to answer pressing issues in health, and so on and so forth. So, for example, at Halodoc, we also believe that health should be able to be accessed by everyone. It should be inclusive. That's the reason why we come up with digital health that connects doctors from all over Indonesia to all people across the country.
And Budi, a lot of people has been saying that Shipper is one of the fast growing company out of Indonesia, but you've also been around in the industry for quite a while. And when talking about inclusivity, what are your views on it, and why do you think it matters for Indonesia's digital economy?
Inclusivity, I mean, for logistics, there's actually two parts, right? One is actually moving things out, and second is moving things in. So the problem with the current logistic infrastructure, a lot of them is because of the infrastructure, because of the whole infrastructure. The access to the location is one of the main reasons why a lot of these deliveries to the different areas across Indonesia, especially the remote part, becomes a big problem for them. However, if we look at how they actually survive within this region, they actually have products that they can sell, or they can send out from their city. However, because of this, there's not much inclusivity going on in that area, where they don't know how to sell products, they don't know how to ship products. It's very hard for them to get things out of the city. It becomes a problem for them, right? So if we look at inclusivity again, it will always come hand in hand with with technologies. So that's how digital inclusivity will play a part in this logistic. Currently, as it is now, there's a lot of areas we don't have visibility at all about what are the delivery rates, what are the volume that comes to that area, how do they do business around the area. No visibility at all. So because of that, then when we do this digital logistic within those region, we will start to have this clarity, and they will still be able to enjoy all this information that is available for them. So it needs to be supported physical activity and digital activity. So for physical activity, the way we should do it is actually to have a certain hubs that we set up in particular region, where we'll access all the delivery, and we have the local guy to do the delivery that is trackable using technology, and that doesn't happen yet. A lot of activity at the moment is focused on Java centric, and because the government itself is still building the infrastructure to reach out to all these remote areas.
That's very interesting when you mentioned about infrastructure. When it comes to infrastructure, I a lot of people assume it's internet connection, right? But digital inclusivity needs infrastructure, yes. But do you think that internet connectivity is the only one that matters? What about, for example, digital literacy? What do you think, Budi?
Okay, for logistics, I think physical infrastructure is very important. Physical infrastructure is very important. I think a lot of this production knowledge is actually also important for them. If we look at how we should build a city, right? So they need to be able to produce so they can ship things out. And we need to make sure the access is actually there. Otherwise, this whole inclusivity is actually broken down. For example, now, a couple of months ago, like last month in Papua, the truck road is actually broken, like the normal bridge is actually broken. And because of that, there's no way trucks is able to go through a certain routes within the Trans-Papua road. And it makes the transport of goods between Jayapura and Wamena become expensive because everybody has to go through plane instead of the trucks. And imagine if that is not fixed for a long time. Imagine if the road is actually not built. Like that, we're talking about Jayapura, Wamena only, right? What about other areas in that particular Papua area? So that makes them actually very behind in terms of logistic inclusivity. Logistic is always associated with cost, right? Cost of logistics. So then the target, if we want to see inclusivity, one of the main goal is how do we actually able to get access, make them access logistic, but with affordable cost. Anybody can create inclusivity. I mean, we can get trillions of rupiah and go to every area and build that, right? But at the end of the day, if there's no way we can make it sustainable, then it's become useless. So we have to think about how we can make this inclusivity but sustainable as well.
That's very interesting when you said about sustainability, and why I want to continue to you when it comes to sustainability. Digital inclusiveness needs not to be also it's running, but it also needs to be sustainable. What are your thoughts on that? And given your experience in dealing with a lot of social impact entrepreneurs and investors in Indonesia.
Yeah, I mean, in our case, we help our entrepreneurs to scale up, Rama. So one of the most important thing that we see is, let's say, looking at the supply of talents, right? And when, let's say, companies like Shipper and Halodoc as well, when they started, maybe they started only with 10 to 15 members of the company, and now they have hundreds of employees. And then there's just only two of the huge examples that we have right now with us. But if you multiply that with 1,000 startups across Indonesia, the needs of the talents in terms of the technology on the production level and the engineering level, we see a huge shortage on that. So I think on this sustainability part, we have to see that there is also a huge role of the government and also all other stakeholders of the community and the society in Indonesia to develop the sustainability of digital inclusiveness. And one of the issues, let's say, that we would like to see from our side is the entrepreneurship ecosystem. You look at Jakarta, we are ranked number 2 globally, only to lose to Mumbai. But that's just because of the talent score that we are losing on to Mumbai. You can imagine on that. Come on. I mean, Indonesia losing to India just because of the talent that are still scarce. But that's the real situation that we are actually facing. So there's a huge, big challenge in terms of that on the digital inclusivity. It's just because that Indonesia is the largest country in ASEAN, the highest populated. And also the most difficult part is that we are islands, and demographically, also geographically is just complex. So I think in order for us to really move this country forward, it really needs to have the support of all of these stakeholders. On the startup side, creating the demand, that's great, because then the startup is growing and everything and so on. But on the supply side, that's where we are actually needs more support to get these talent, especially on the technology and IT, to become much more competent and capable to the demand of the startup at the current moment.
Yeah, quick follow-up question. So, where do you position, as yourself as an investor, as an endeavor, yeah? Where do you position yourself in kind of pushing that acceleration of digital inclusiveness?
Well, in our case, at the current moment, we are actually, aside from supporting our endeavor entrepreneurs in scaling up their business, also we do, let's say, what we call our communications to the universities and everything and so on. We do lots of that activities in order for them to get to know what kind of importance that is actually required from the education sectors, because the education sectors plays a very important role. So on that part, our social responsibility activities, focusing and communicating about what's the need from the entrepreneurial ecosystem, that's where we are actually focusing, is very important in order for us to get all the stakeholders to realize and then understand what are their important roles in making sure that this ecosystem grow very fast. Also, not to be fell behind, because startups will not wait for all the other stakeholders to be ready. They will always follow the market. When the market demands are very high, they will grow, and when they grow, they will not wait for, let's say, an university or education system of Indonesia to catch up with the quality of, let's say, talents that is needed by them.
Yeah, and I think Doddy knows that best, as as a player and in one of the most regulated industry in Indonesia, Halodoc, especially during these COVID times, pandemic, and I think Halodoc, one of the most impactful company for the past few months, because of because of your effort in the vaccinating a lot of the elderly in Jakarta and other big cities. But from your own perspective, Doddy, where do you see challenges of pushing this inclusivity, maybe particularly in giving healthcare access to all Indonesians?
Okay. I would say there are three main areas that we need to work on to reach digital inclusivity in Indonesia. First is the access, internet access. Second is affordability. And the third one is market education. So when I mention internet access, the main problem would be availability of internet, like decent internet across the archipelago. I really appreciate the government effort to bridge the internet divide by completing the Palapa ring, for example. But then the problem is extended to the affordability, both for the package and for the device itself to access the internet. Lastly, when all elements are fulfilled, the problem will be market education. How we could help to convince people to use these tools, how we can help them gain more benefit of using the internet and digital inclusivity for their productivity. So it is definitely a long road, but yeah, one that's worth traveled, I think.
Can you share your experience, based on your experience working with, the government, for the past few months in, the vaccination effort? What do you see the government's role in pushing, in your case, not just digital, but also healthcare inclusivity, right? But digital is a big part of what you do as well. So what do you think is the role for government in helping that kind of acceleration for?
Well, especially for our industry, I think I'm very thankful with the government of Indonesia that's being very supportive. Yeah, I remember back to the early days when we proposed Halodoc idea and vision to the Ministry of Health and and the other departments. The response was, this is a new thing. We don't know how to regulate it, and shall we go on or not? But then back then, the leaders in our government are having like very forward thinking, and they said like if it's not now, then when? If it's not by the company inside Indonesia, then sooner or later, it's also related to digital inclusivity. Player from outside will also come in, right? So it is better that we start now, and we also learn from each other, from the regulator and from the technology player, and then we work hand in hand to solve the problem with the new type of solution. So in a nutshell, I think our government has been very supportive, especially for us in the healthcare sector. One of the example is they even support our new method to deliver the vaccine, and also COVID test by using a drive-through mechanism. So that is something new that is not being known before, but then we prove it that by working hand in hand from the regulator, and we support from the technology plus the market education, then we can deliver the solution in healthcare for Indonesian people.
Superb. Now, moving forward, if we want to improve our digital inclusivity, it's very important for us to measure the right things, right? Important to measure the right metrics. So I want to start with Budi. What do you think is the main success metric, and how do you define success for you were saying about ecosystem players, right? So how do you define success in driving digital inclusivity in Indonesia, and what, in your personal opinion, how do we get there?
From logistics perspective, I think goods are moving in and out of the city no matter what, and it just depends on how long and how expensive. So I think one of the metrics for us is actually how much cost can we save, right? How can we improve the logistic cost and the travel time and efficiency for that? I think that will be the core metrics of this whole logistic inclusivity, to make sure that we are able to really reach out to the whole nation with the affordable logistic costs. And I mean, for us to get there, there's a lot of dependencies. We cannot do it ourselves, that's for sure. So we need to have a lot of, like, one thing for sure, like the government is doing something about it. So they're building, we're super grateful that government start to pay a lot of attention to the logistics. So they started to build like a national logistic ecosystem for that. So yeah, I mean, that's one. Secondly, also, as Pak Wayah mentioned earlier on about like we're only a small piece of the puzzle. How we can make sure that we can collaborate with the other pieces where we can work together. For us, like if we want to look at the main focus of logistics at the moment in Indonesia, a lot of them are on e-commerce. So then we should look at how like these whole players, e-commerce players, manufacturers, brands, like, and then us, logistics and a payment company can come together and start building particular areas, right? Areas to increase the inclusivity. I think that will be what we should be doing, partnering together with different stakeholders to actually start building that.
Oh yeah, what do you think? What's the main success metric, the definition of success in driving digital inclusivity, and how do you think we can get there?
Well, I think on the metric side, it's very complicated. I don't want to touch on that part, Rama, because if you look at that, Indonesia is a huge, how do I say it, case study. It's quite difficult. But I want to focus on our, let's say, entrepreneurial ecosystem, because we are focusing on that. When we want to scale up, we need to have a few things that is actually really needed in the ecosystem to thrive, and actually to support these startups to really grow. And the first thing is on the strategy that needs to be supported by regulations and policies, because even though the regulations are there, but still some are conflicting if you want to go at the central regulation and also on the provincial regulation, if you go down again, and so on. So on that part, we really need to actually integrate ourselves. So I'm looking forward at the omnibus government regulation to really actually simplify all of this. And then the second one is on the development of the human capital and unleashing the future talent. So hopefully this can also support all the capability needed by the startup to really grow, and then build the enabling infrastructure like what Budi and also Mas Doddy has mentioned, and harness the technology that is actually being implemented. The fourth one is accelerating this initiative, let's say the startup, through availability of funding and also incentives. So on the funding side, I think we don't have any issues, but we actually need some more incentives like, tax regulations and everything and so on. If that can actually support the scaling up of the companies and the startup, that will be it. And the last part is actually cultivating the thriving of the digital ecosystem. I mean, tech-based, like what Mas Dodi mentioned, that's very important. So if we can actually able to actually support this digital ecosystem to thrive, the entrepreneurial side, that would be very nice. So those 5 things, I think, what's most important for any environment or ecosystem to really grow the digital inclusiveness.
Amazing, such an elaborate and comprehensive answer. Thank you, Pawaya. So, Dodi, in terms of in the health technology sector, how do you define success in driving digital inclusivity or even digital healthcare inclusivity for Indonesian population? And how do you personally think that we as a nation or as an ecosystem can get there?
Okay. I think the easiest way is to look at various indexes about digital inclusion, right? So, such as those published by GSMA or probably Mastel in Indonesia. So those reports could provide some baseline on how we have progressed to be more an inclusive country in terms of digital accessibility. However, if we look at the broader context, we can see how fast digitalization could act as an agent of change to increase the quality and standard of living of Indonesian people. It is as simple as making sure children in Manokwari in Papua can get the same information and knowledge with the children staying in Yogyakarta, for example. So, yeah, in my opinion, inclusion is a complex and huge homework for all of us. But I think my previous answer to help provide better access, bringing costs down, and market education could be a starting point on how we could get there. It is obviously a general answer, but I think those 3 elements could be broken down into more varied and creative, actionable items involving all stakeholders. So, regarding your question about that, metric for healthcare, there is one metric that we think we already achieve partially achieve our vision to simplify access of healthcare is in terms of access to specialist doctor across the country. So before there is before there is Halodoc, obviously only patients who live in the big cities, especially in Java, that could meet the specialist doctors. Needless to say that the number of specialist doctors in Indonesia is also very few, right? Our data have shown that from the hotspots of the patient that are accessing our teleconsultation services, it's being almost equally divided from Sumatra, Java, and all the big cities, even into the eastern part of our country. Whereas our brother and sister obviously now is able to consult with the specialist doctors, even though they don't have to meet it in person.
Awesome answers and awesome insights. Thank you, all 3 panelists, for sharing your insights and knowledge. And it's been a great session. Unfortunately, our time has ended, and I'm looking forward to discuss further with you, all of you, about digital inclusivity in Indonesia, because I understand it's one of the most key things, especially and these days. And the government has been taking this issue very, very seriously. I agree with what Dodi said, that the government is very progressive, when it comes to driving digital economy in Indonesia. So that's one thing we can be proud about. And with that, I conclude the session, and I would like to give the controls back to the Wild Digital team. Thank you so much, and talk to you guys
Thank
next
you.
time.
Thank you.
Okay, everyone.